Hey kids, Bob Murphy here with another episode of ECON Moments. Today we're going to be talking about trade-offs. Trade-offs occur when there are several different things that people are trying to achieve, and so to get more in one dimension means you have to give up something in another dimension. So for example, after posting the first ECON moment, I got some feedback from various fans who were saying, you know Bob, this is great, we love it, but can you get better audio quality? Why don't you go get yourself a microphone? Well, see, there's a trade-off. Because if I go get a microphone, this particular camera I'm using, it doesn't have a USB port for microphone, so I'd have to plug it into my laptop, record the audio track separately. Then, after the video's done, I'd have to go in and sync it up, make sure I'm not looking like I'm in a Japanese film. And so, the problem is, that's going to take a lot of my time. And I don't quite know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People read me, right? There's stuff I have to do when I come to the office during the day, and I can't spend 2 hours in post-production editing these little videos. So there's a trade-off involved. The audio quality is not as good as it could be, but you get more videos, more Murphy for your dollar. So that's the trade-off, and that's the way it's going to be, at least for now. Believe me, Tom Woods has been telling me for over a year that I should be cranking out these YouTube videos, and I'm just now getting around to it. So you can see, if I kept trying to jiggle with things and get it just right, sure, that would be a phenomenal video. Martin Scorsese would fall in love with me, but there would be one video that was produced every 3 years. Alright, so that's the trade-off. Okay, let's take a more serious example. Lately in the news, as I'm sure all of you are aware, there's been issues about what insurance companies should cover. So there have been things said by various people that should not have been said, but let's look at the economics involved. In particular, one of the arguments that advocates of Congress mandating that insurance companies cover contraception, one of the arguments these people put forward is to say, effectively, there's no trade-off involved. The insurers will make more money, and of course the clients will benefit because they won't have to pay out of pocket for these procedures, or for the pills or whatever it is that the people want to get. So here, as an economist, I'm skeptical. Because just think about what that would mean if that were true. Okay, so again, the argument that these people are putting forward is the insurance company, yes, it's going to pay a little bit more if Congress forces it to cover contraception for some of its customers that right now is not covered by the insurance policy. So the insurance company's going to have to pay a little bit more, but that's going to reduce the number of unplanned pregnancies and so on, so the insurance company is going to be saving money in the long run, since now its customers are less likely to have to go and give childbirth in the hospital, and that's of course a lot more expensive than the contraception that the insurers are being forced against their will to cover if this legislation goes through. Right, so that's the argument. So again, I want to say that is patently absurd to me, that can be true. So maybe you have good reasons for thinking Congress should force insurers to cover that, but I don't think it's a good argument to say, hey, there's no trade-off involved. It's going to help the insurers and the clients. And here's why, because just think this through. What that would mean if it were true is that, first of all, the various people in the medical field and the bloggers and the people who are writing angry letters to the editor making this argument, it means that they understand the cost of running an insurance company more than the owners and executives of the insurance company understand it. Right? So that's kind of odd. Right? You wouldn't think that, but apparently these people do know more about the insurance industry than the people who actually derive their livelihood from it. So that's interesting. But beyond that, suppose it were true, right? It could be true. Maybe the insurance executives, they've just been doing it a certain way so long, and they just have groupthink going on. Okay. Well, if it really is just as obvious and open and shut a case as a lot of these people are making it sound, that clearly the insurers would save money in the long run by doing these policies, well, it shouldn't take Congress. All these people should do is write up the case, refer to the various documentation that allegedly proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're right on this, and just fax it over to the insurance companies and say, look there's millions of dollars lying on the ground here that you've been failing to pick up. Just change your policies, and in a couple of years, you can send us the thank you card for making you rich. You see how that works? So, for the person's worldview to be correct who's advocating this argument, not only are the insurance companies incredibly stupid, but they're so stupid they have to literally be forced by law to enrich themselves by just changing the policies of what they cover. So at this point, I hope you can see that that's probably not really what's going on here. There's probably something involved that the advocates of this argument are overlooking. There's a trade-off. That yes, we could force, or I should say the government could force insurers to cover contraception and so on, but probably that would make them lose money, and so they'd have to raise premiums for everybody to cover themselves, to make it possible to stay in business while still doing that. And they've just decided currently, if there's no coercion involved, that that's not a profitable thing to do. So this observation by itself doesn't mean it's a good or a bad policy to implement this thing. But what I am saying is, when you start thinking through the logic of trade-offs, it's probably not true that if Congress were to mandate contraception coverage for insurance companies, that both the customers and the insurers would benefit from it. That's probably not true, because if it were true, you wouldn't need to force them to do it. They would take advantage of the win-win possibility. Okay, everybody, that's my time for today. This has been another episode of Econ Moments with me, Bob Murphy.